Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 14 of the Lebanese Biodiversity Podcast. My name is Mira, and I am an entomologist. Today, we will be speaking to Dr. Ibrahim Chalhoub, President of Water People Organization. Water People Organization is an NGO based in Batroun, and they work on a variety of topics related to marine conservation, monitoring, and raising awareness. We will be discussing the mission and different activities of the NGO. Don't hesitate to get in touch with them through their socials if you have questions. We hope you enjoyed this episode and we'll see you in the next one. Hello, Dr.
Oh,
Chalhoub. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Dr. Bustani, for this fantastic opportunity. And I would really like to inform the people through you about what we do in the NGO. And but again, I would like to thank you for this interest in telling the people about others and who they are and what they do.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm also very excited for this interview. Can you, first of all, introduce us to yourself and your background and your current role in the organization? And well, after this, we will speak more about the organization itself, but let's begin by yourself.
Well, I'm one of those people who don't like to talk much about themselves, so I'll try to be as succinct as possible. In fact, I come from a very diversified background. Uh, I'm into pharmaceutical issues because I'm a pharmacist to start with, a clinical pharmacist. I worked in research, in pharmaceutical research for 7 years. I did psychology and I got a PhD in psychology, and I kept moving on and on. Some places in oceanography and meteorology, and now I'm actually getting the certification in meteorology because I'm highly interested in it. Uh, I am a diver. This is the thing that I would really like to talk about. I'm a free diver, so I dive on a single breath. And there is a group of divers around me with whom I share common issues. And we are people who live by the coast, by the sea. We believe in science, not just me, they also believe in science. We are 5 people who founded this NGO. And because we believe in science and we believe in the coast and we believe in the need to do something for that coast, because what we see is really different from what people see when they look at the sea and at the coast from outside. And this is why we came together, and this is why we share a common goal, which was eventually uh, produced in an NGO.
So, can you tell us more about what the current range of activities is? So, you just told us briefly about the philosophy behind founding Water People Organization, but what is the current range of your activities?
Uh, Let me start with something that happened with us, and I will later on tell you about what do we cover. I was diving with one of the co-founders. Okay, and as we returned back to the coast, because we usually dive from the shore, as we returned back, we saw a fisherman, and he was fishing, really standing on a rock and fishing. He had in his hand a plastic water bottle. He finished it, and he simply threw it into the sea. So I cannot believe that a fisherman who's eating from the sea is really polluting the sea. And this is one of the major things that we would like to actually, as an NGO, try to avoid. Preventing it is not really possible, but trying to prevent, at least contributing to that. So one of the projects is directly related to the pollution, plastic pollution. And plastic nowadays is a very big monster. It's very hard on the global scale to get rid of it. But
Mhm.
we don't work on a global scale. We don't work on a local scale. We work on a hyper local scale. So one of the projects is to try to recycle water plastic bottles. We cannot recycle everything because not everything is recyclable anyway, but at least we try to prevent that. So we're starting from this to monitoring the marine debris. That's a topic that's quite strong in the United States. Not much being done in Europe, a little bit. And of
Okay.
course, in the Middle East, there's nobody.
Just for
Uh,
clarification, when you speak about marine debris, is it plastic debris or debris in general?
no, marine debris are debris in general. Plastic is
Okay.
part of it. So we went into that, and I contacted NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Agency or Administration of the United States.
Okay.
They have a map that they are working on, and we put Lebanon on that map. We already made some monitoring on specific areas, and we will continue with the monitoring because what we saw was something we were not expecting. We thought it's mainly plastic, and we discovered there are so many other things, and they differ from one location to the other in that very small coast called Lebanon. Another thing we're working on is awareness, and we started with that some time ago because people hear stuff, but when you check what they hear, you find that it's very far away from reality. This is something we don't do ourselves. We bring experts. So we brought an expert to speak about marine birds, another to speak about geology related to the sea, etc., etc., because people really learn a lot from this. And at least we try to change or break this cycle of false knowledge that comes from anywhere. Other projects that we are actually working on, but they are a bit hindered because of technical issues. One of the technical issues now is the war in Lebanon.
Yes.
We're trying to map underwater parts of the coast, the shallow parts actually, because there's lots of life that is fading away over there, and lots of invasive. And when I say invasive, I don't only mean the species that we already know, like lionfish. Everybody knows lionfish now. I'm
Hmm.
speaking about invasive corals that we are seeing now. So we were interested in mapping this underwater. It's a big project, although it's a small area, but it requires a lot of logistics, lots of preparation, and lots of machines and processing later on.
Okay, so when you
Yes.
say mapping underwater landscapes or or
Yeah,
part of the underwater coast, do you mean the topography and the wildlife, or are we only speaking about
exactly.
wildlife? Okay.
We cannot work with wildlife alone unless we have a clear map. And when I speak about map, I'm speaking from a geographic point of view. We need the
Okay, I see.
topography fully, yes, but by photos, by depth, and by what we see over there. And so we will have a reference that we can refer to every now and then and go check what happened and what changed.
Okay, so this allows you to do long-term monitoring basically, but you do need a baseline in order to be able to do that monitoring later on.
That's the point. That's the baseline we're working on.
Okay. And before I forget this question, but you did mention that you work on a hyper-local scale. So what part of the coast do you actually cover? Which regions? Roughly how many kilometers are we speaking about?
We're mainly speaking about Batroun because this is
Okay.
where we are all located. And I am very confident because I've seen lots of people trying to do things in different NGOs not related to the water. And they immediately try to make a big project. They usually fail in a couple of months because they went too big. So we said, we're not going through this. We're going to be very hyper local. We'll take Batroun. We work only in Batroun. And if someone else wants to work in another area, needs help, we're there. And this is helping us succeed. I'll give you one example. It's the example of the plastic water bottles. We made a sort of a bottle-like container made up of metal, and we made only five. We distributed them in Batroun, and they're working like, wow, fantastic. So people said, please, let's increase the number, put here and there, in Batroun only, huh? We said
Okay.
no, because if we do that, it's going to be out of our control and it's going to fail. Now it's working fantastically well. Others are asking for it. Like I give you one example, Jabal Musa lately asked us for six. We paid the price of two from our pockets because this is how we work. And they paid the price of four, and now they have six, and they are taking care of their own plastic.
Okay, that's great. Can you tell us a bit more about how you can support scientists and activists in their work? So, in the beginning, when you were
Yeah.
introducing the organization, you said that all of you believed in science or also had a scientific background. So, what is your role in this sense?
Well, I personally helped in some scientific work underwater. I'm not going to talk about it much because it's not published yet, but I'll give a hint.
Okay,
It's
we'll
related
wait.
to geology underwater. And of
Okay,
course, I immediately brought the whole NGO with me to do the stuff. This is one thing. So if there's a scientist or a science student working on a project that requires something underwater, we help, one. Two, I teach freediving. I'm official instructor. So I teach scientists or science students who want to do projects underwater how to dive and how to perform the activity they need underwater. I already have um, three students from biology from LAU, Lebanese American University, who did
yes.
training with me for that purpose.
Okay, this is great. So you do provide these trainings through the organization, and
Yes.
can you tell us more about the awareness, the awareness raising? It's also something that you mentioned in the beginning, but while reading about your organization, I found the term knowledge cafes. So
Yes,
that you had
exactly.
sent me through the list of your activities. So can you tell us a bit more about those and how people who are interested can join?
Sure. Now, knowledge cafes, generally speaking, for the people who are not coming from scientific backgrounds or who are not now in universities, are mainly done in universities and specific groupings and stuff where those people who are studying something come together and talk about it. So I said, why don't we bring this out to the people and make it literally a cafe? And there is a cafe in Batroun who are actually surfers and who did that cafe. They're called hang groups. They are also water people for us, and we work together a lot. So we said,
Okay.
okay, we're going to do it in your cafe, guys. You bring the people, surfers, and your people around you, and we try to also bring others. And that's where we're doing those knowledge cafes. Knowledge cafes are, yeah, awareness campaigns where there'll be experts, as I said in the beginning, but it's done not in the form of a presentation, of an official presentation where people will feel like bored at the end. No, it's a give and talk where people ask questions and try to take it easy while delivering the proper information and making sure when someone says something, like from the public says something, it is directly put in the place where it should go to, corrected, adjusted, or confirmed.
Okay, well, this is a great way to raise awareness in all cases. For a public that is not a scientific public, people will be more relaxed in a setting like that. Well, rather than being in an amphitheater with someone presenting stuff on a PowerPoint. So, well, great initiative. And are these also for the moment in universities in the Batroun area, or are these available in other regions?
It's
And
in the cafe called Hang Loose,
okay.
and it's in Batroun area, but anyone can join. And when we do this, we announce it, and Hang Loose announce it, and people tell each other about it, so they will know ahead of time that there is a knowledge cafe coming.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So now I have a question concerning what you see underwater, kind of. So for me personally, I have never dived. I don't think I have any knowledge of what the underwater landscape looks like apart of putting my head under the surface. So for
Mhm.
those of us who have no idea what the underwater landscape looks like, can you describe it to us? Are there like hills, valleys? And also, like, how do you go about the mapping? Do you drag cameras with you, or notebook? Well, I suppose you cannot drag notebooks, but also just explaining a bit how all this happens.
Yeah, sure. Well, just a little bit. Yes, we can take notebooks. There are specific notebooks for underwater, by the way.
Oh,
They're not the
okay.
same as the ones. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff for the underwater world. It's much more expensive for the above the water world. That's the only thing. Um, the landscape is very similar to the landscape we see it on regular terrain. There is everything. There is sand. There are small pebbles here and there. There are hills, but there are some things that are specific for the underwater. Like when you see the sand underwater, when you go a bit away from this very small shore, say, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 meters away from the shore, and you have below you, say, only 5 meters of water, not more, you will see that the sand has a different characteristic and the sand you see on the shore. You will see that there are some striations in that sand that follow specific patterns. So you see like one striation here, and then you have, I don't know, 50 centimeters and another parallel to it, etc., etc. All of this is due to the fact of the dynamics that are present underwater and not the same above the water. The landscape is very, very varied, as I said. Of course, there is everything. There are canyons, there are mountains, there's everything. I'm speaking about the near shore area. I'm not speaking about depths. We're
Okay.
humans, we dive on a single breath. We're not submarines. But yet, over there, you see a lot. Uh, Plenty of similarities to what you see outside. There are so many things actually that happened outside and went down underwater. And the opposite
Okay.
is true. So many rocks were already underwater and went up. Um, the nice thing is that what you see today in place underwater, you may see it tomorrow, but the majority of things are not in their place all the time. Like if you go today and you see a turtle, oh, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and see it. You can search for hours and never see anything. It's much more difficult to find things that you find today, find them tomorrow. And that's why there's a lot of change happening. And that's why you need a baseline in order to start monitoring that change. But the monitoring is a very long term kind of a thing. It could even be more long than the one above the water.
Okay.
Now, for
So,
the mapping part,
yes.
yes, it's done through photography. I am also a photographer. Lots of stuff,
Okay.
but really, I don't really like to mention them all. I'm an official photographer. I work with an official photographic journalistic agency. So I do work underwater, and therefore I work with photos. And that privilege made me uh, take shots and use them later in specific photogrammetric methods to construct a map from photos. And therefore, you will have a map, you will have GPS coordinates on that map, you will have clear depths through sonar, and you will have the map that you can really visualize with your own eyes, not just drawings of lines and polygons. No, a real view of what you see.
Okay. Well, this is really fascinating. Thank you. Do you take on volunteers? What can the general public do to support your mission? How can people get
Yeah,
involved with you, basically, with the
yeah,
organization?
quite easy. They can talk to us anywhere on our outlets, mainly the social media part, which is actually Instagram.
Okay.
Uh, we do take volunteers. That's definite, but it's me in this case. I'm very, very picky in picking up people because uh, I want someone who's really serious. and really willing to go the extra mile with us, because we're not funded and we don't want to be funded. Because if we're going to be funded, we're going to be doing the project of someone else. We want to do our own projects because we know our area and we apply things to our area the way it should be applied, not a solution that's given in I don't know where in the Atlantic. We cannot do the same thing in on our coast. So because we believe in this, we need people who are really willing to go the extra mile. There's no money, there's nothing. There should be people who are really willing to do something related to science. They don't have to be scientists, but at least have the basics of the scientific attitude. And people who are not coming just to say, "Oh, I'm a member of an organization." What's an organization? It's nothing. In reality, we're just very few people trying to do something very, very small. But doing something very small is really, really hard if you're doing it really seriously. So if there is a volunteer willing to go this way, we're more than happy. I do have, as I told you, those 3 guys coming from LAU. They want to volunteer with me in the project of the mapping and many other projects as well. They already did some work with me in the with us actually in an organization in the marine debris. So we are there now. The community, the general community, if they want to support us, there's one little thing they can do. Stop believing everything they hear and come and, of course, about the ocean, about the shore, about the coast, and come and ask us. If we don't have the information, we have the connections to the people who know, and we will inform them and we will adjust their data. It's not knowledge in this case, their data properly and transform it to knowledge. And once they know, they become responsible. Once they become responsible, they will be truly willing to do some kind of change for their own coast, which is left alone, dying, and left for all sorts of issues that are promoting its death.
Okay. What are the biggest threats that you have been able to see in the last years to the coast ecosystem, but also to the sustainability of the coast in general?
Well, in reality, there is no sustainability whatsoever of the coast. I am working on
Okay.
research now of sustainability. There is nothing. Well, there's a lot of talk, honestly. Everyone says
Okay.
lots of stuff, but in reality, nothing is sustainable. It is dying. If I speak from an ecological point of view, there is massive death. There is no sort of pollution that is not available on the coast. And if we speak about direct human pollution coming from the sewage, every couple of months we see an addition of another sewage that is directly spilling into the shore.
Oh my,
What
okay,
are
that
people
that
doing?
is horrible.
Yeah, that's one thing. There's also chemical pollution. There are all sorts of things, all sorts of illegal fishing on the shore. Guys, go fish away. Why are you getting too close to the shore? There's nothing left. And people are convinced, that's why I said they should stop listening to others. They are convinced that what they're doing is correct. Like when they tell you, we are fishing this fish, it's very good, it's healthy. But I tell them it's too small. Oh, no, no, it's not small. They're fishing fish that are just born. They have to wait for them to grow mature to get. I mean, otherwise there will be no more fish. And people don't believe that at one point of time there will be no more fish. But it's happened everywhere in the world, but they don't know.
Yes,
This
so
is the situation, the cost.
we encourage people to get in contact with you, with your organization, if they have questions. And also, if they would like to volunteer, they can also contact you through your social media. But so the problems that you have mentioned now, the threat to the coast, the local community can get involved in avoiding or resolving some of them. But a big chunk of this job has to be done by official entities. So, how do you think governmental entities can step up to hope uh, and better the situation in the following years?
Well, for the time being, they can't do anything. There's no government, and there's a war, unfortunately. unfortunately, when there are wars, humans of the local people start producing more trash and throw them. Uh, if the locals want to help, they should think, okay, there's war now, we should not produce more. For the government to help us, that's a really tough thing because, like what happened around 20 years ago in Mexico, the government didn't help people, and fish died, and there are no more fish left for people to eat. So NGOs stepped in, but it was not one NGO. The whole NGO stepped in and decided we're going to take over government. You're not here. Okay, we'll do it. And they took over. They got the necessary funding for that. They took the fishermen out. They taught them something else to do. And they were not allowed to fish anymore for a long time. And luckily, they had some fish back. So we're not relying on government. We cannot rely on it.
Okay.
Government is super corrupted, and it doesn't exist anyway now. So we're trying to mobilize the local community. We do believe in their capacities. They can do wonders. We're still trying to mobilize them properly. That's not quite easy because there are issues also involved in the businesses and so many things related to corruption as well.
Okay, so there's a lot of awareness work that should be done for the local communities, but also from what you're saying and from what I understand, there are a lot of false beliefs or false ideas circulating where the local community doesn't necessarily know that their actions are harming the coast and that our
True.
actions are not sustainable on the long run. Well, I mean,
Definitely.
also the issue of the war is something that is impacting the entire environmental section, unfortunately, but let us hope that if NGOs and organizations like yours step in, they find the necessary funding and workforce to really make a change. Um, I will jump on to the closing section where I usually ask the same two questions, which are kind of open-ended, but it's important for us to know, basically for the people listening, what advice would you give them if they want to work in marine conservation and if they want to participate to the conservation of the coastline?
Very well. But just to start with, I am not a marine biologist. So
But you're
I
doing
really
conservation
encourage,
work, so yes.
yes, yes. So I really encourage them, those who are now willing to study something, go study marine biology. Seriously. So the youngsters, go study marine biology. It's a field that is highly required in Lebanon. There are some
Okay.
marine biologists, of course, but we need a lot, and we need a lot of work. And when they are many, course, to a certain point, they can do a much better effect than we are not well, when they are few. And I tell you, I know some marine biologists who left Lebanon because they couldn't continue anymore. So there are vacancies, there are places, there is lots of opportunity. This is one side of the story. Another side of the story, guys, don't throw your trash in the water. It's that simple. And when you are there, try to do like there's one NGO, I forgot where exactly in the world it is, but they take three for the sea. That's what they say. So every time someone goes to the beach or so, just take three items out of the trash, take them away, put them in the trash can at least. But again, when I say this, I also feel that I'm the guy who only speaks about negative issues. I'm sorry. But that's why we personally, for example, don't contribute to cleanups, beach cleanups, because in Lebanon, beach cleanups eventually end up in the dump, and the dump ends up in the water. So it's just a cycle.
Yes.
Unless you break the cycle and you say, okay, I'm going to clean up only one part, that's going to the recycling. That will be fine. So if people can do that, we're willing to help and we can contribute to this together. Let's try to remove things that are recyclable and take them to recycling. This is my final advice, and this is where we would work at the hyper local level.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Do you have any closing ideas or anything that you would have liked to expand on, or any links you would like us to add below the post for this episode? Well, apart from your page link, of course, when people can contact you.
Uh, Really, if I'm going to start, I'm not going to finish. So I'd
Okay,
rather
fair enough.
close it like this with you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. This was
You're most welcome.
it was really it was great to be able to know more about your activities and also to have some insights on what is happening on the coast right now. Um, Thank you again for your time, and well, I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you very much. Hopefully see you soon.